Hello and welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife, and I am very excited to finally get to tell you about one of those projects I've been working on that I've been hinting at but haven't quite told you about. And that is something, it's been 6 months in the making. I've been working on a survey regarding parents' views about media and trying to figure out why there seems to be a disconnect between what we're getting from Hollywood and what we want as parents. So we're going to dive into that today. As always, I'm your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife. Okay, so let me explain all about it. And I'm actually really excited. So this started off as a thought experiment. I don't know how many of y'all know, but Army wives talk, and I've been in the Army for about 10 years plus now. Well, my husband's in the Army. I'm, the spouse. But anyway, we talk, and we tend to have approximately like 3 kids each. So we're usually talking about the shows that our kids make us watch or what movies they want to go see. We talk a lot about kids' entertainment, books, movies, video games, TV shows, those sorts of things. And more, it was that we were finding less and less. It just felt like there was very few new things made for kids that we all really wanted to take our kids to, or that our kids even cared about. And I started to wonder if this was just a phenomenon in my friend group in the military community, because if this is a wider spread thing, you'd think they'd, you know, maybe change it. The other thing is I started talking to friends about how they decided what to let their kids watch and whatnot. Well, anyway, this got me all thinking, and I've got a degree in family life science. And so instead of just wondering and presuming and maybe writing an opinion piece on it, I wanted to get the perspective of other parents. I sat down, I thought it through, and I came up with a very simple set of questions. So I ended up sending out the survey that I put together to my alumni association, to homeschooling groups, parenting communities, out on military forums, as well as on social media in general, and sending it out to friends and family to share with their community. Now, I've realized something over the years. People are very hesitant to put their name on surveys unless there's a prize for filling it out. Unless there's some sort of reward, a lot of people don't want to put their names on these surveys. So I made it completely anonymous because I felt like that would help me get more respondents. But I wanted to be able to filter out who currently has kids in the home versus who doesn't. And so the first question was, do you have children between the ages of 18 and 0? So that I could filter out, are you currently raising children, or are you just a parent in general? So with that, I got 100 respondents, and 93 of them had children in that age group. So I went from there. I had my concept, I had my thing, and these were the questions I came up with. I wanted to keep it simple, so it was 4 questions. The first was demographics. The next question was, how do you decide if a TV show, movie, video game is appropriate for your child? Second question was, how often do you personally review or preview the media before letting your child watch it or play it? And then the third question was, what specific aspects of media content matter most to you when deciding if it's appropriate? And I wanted this to be short, sweet, to the point. I had an open-ended aspect of it. So there were options they could pick from, but then they also had an other, and they could pick more than one of the options. And then with the other, they could fill out more information if they wanted to. Not a lot of people wanted to. We got back, actually, I would say about 1 in 4 expounded upon their answers voluntarily, but only about 1 in 4 did. Not everyone really was into that, and that's fine. It's perfectly acceptable. So after addressing the demographics, the first question about content or media is, How do you decide if a TV show or movie is appropriate for your child? So basically, what criteria are you using? And the list of criteria that we gave them as options were age ratings, content reviews, recommendations from friends and family, personal screenings, and other. And they could pick more than one because oftentimes people use more than one criteria in their decision making process. 72% said age ratings. 72% also used content reviews. 82% used recommendations from friends and family. 91.4% used personal screenings. And then 10% had other, and they clarified what other things they use. And some of those responses were actually quite fascinating in different aspects. And we're going to get into the more in depth a little bit later on. Several people said that they watch things with their kids. They'll preview them, but then they'll watch them with their kids so they can really have a conversation with them. And I liked that. I really thought that was a good idea and a good suggestion for parents in general. So the second question was, how often do you personally review that media? Well, in the previous question, they said that 91% say they do review that media. And of that, and then how often do they do that? Well, 18% said always, and then 62% said usually, leaving us about 80% of parents saying that they are screening all of their kids' media before their kids are exposed to it. So that shows a lot of hands on parenting. I don't know. I feel like people used to rely more on reviews and ratings, and now it feels like we're not. So, getting into the last question, which specific aspects of media content are most important to you when determining what's appropriate for your child? The options that respondents were given were violence, language, sexual content, and educational value, and then other. They could add more information if they wanted. And other people did answer with other. There was people who wanted to add extra context to what they were saying. But so violence, 80% of parents said that they are concerned about violence. 79 said language. 91% sexual content was a concern. And 47 educational value. Now, what that really says to me is a couple things. This is my takeaways from this. Parents really don't trust the rating system. They don't. They don't seem to have confidence in the rating system at all anymore. So it doesn't seem to be a useful gauge for parents. Now, I know when it comes to content for myself, I will oftentimes look at that rating and I'll make a determination based on what the rating says and why it's rated that, whether or not I want to watch it for me. But I've had so many instances where I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sure, it's rated PG-13. I'll watch that." And they'll be like, "Oh, wait, what is in this movie? What is in this show?" And I'll have to backtrack and I'll be like, "Yeah, no." And if I run running into that when I'm trying to pick what I want to watch as an adult, that means I don't have a lot of confidence in ratings otherwise. The other issue we've run into, and I'm going to give props to Netflix for how they handled the situation, but they're getting movies and TV shows from other countries, and other countries' rating criteria are different than the United States. And previously, they would just copy and paste or just make assumptions on what content was appropriate for what areas. Well, I was watching a video about flamingo dancing and I thought there was this is cool. This is entertaining. I was watching it while I was like folding laundry. I love dance. I've been a ballroom dancer. I know how to ballroom dance. And so I like watching dance stuff. Okay. I'm I'm me. I'm just accept this. Anyway, moving on. I was watching it, and the dances themselves were completely fine, but at one point, the background, the backdrop for the flamingo dancer was a nude person. And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Not all parents want their kids to see that. And so it got me thinking, okay, is that in the kids section? Went and checked. Sure enough, it was. And so we contacted Netflix and we're like, hey, by the way, did you know XYZ? And they're like, oh, no, we didn't know that. We'll take care of that. And they did. So kudos to Netflix for taking care of that. And yes, you can report these things, parents, if you find stuff. Now, Netflix took care of it. I'm not sure if all streaming services would have responded that way, but I'm grateful Netflix did. Parents are just having less confidence in the rating system in general and are trusting themselves or family members and friends more. I will admit I'll also use reviews from people online, like online reviewers, independent reviewers. I do not use Rotten Tomatoes anymore. I used to. I don't trust them anymore. I'm sorry. I just don't. My opinion, you can feel however you want. And then the other main finding that I wanted to share with you guys was that the number one concern, as you can tell by what I was stating before, was sexual content. Parents were incredibly concerned about this. Across the board, sexual content was the biggest red flag, and it aligns with larger social conversations that are going on about the appropriateness of this sort of content in media. And one thing I thought was interesting is one parent said, it's not that I'm against all PDA in children's media, but if I'm not comfortable with my husband and I expressing that level of PDA in front of my kids, I don't want someone else doing it or it being in the media either. So I thought that was a pretty good rule of thumb, actually. Our kids, they've seen us kiss, they've seen us snuggle, they've seen us hug. PDA like that is totally acceptable in our house. And so our kids do watch shows where there's snuggling and kissing and holding hands. But if I am not going to do it in front of my kids, I don't want them seeing someone else do it in front of their kids. So I personally, I believe in dressing modestly and, sorts of so I want that in my kids' media as well. And basically, parents want to be able to have their standards for appropriate relationships mirrored in the content, healthy relationships mirrored in the content that their kids are seeing too. That was another concept that a parent shared in a response was that they wanted healthy relationships and family dynamics being modeled. So that's a concern. People are still concerned about violence. They're still concerned about language. Parents still don't want to have their kids hearing cuss words, and there's more and more cussing in entertainment in general. And that is really hard for me. There has been one or two times where I'm like, "Oh, I'd love to show this to my kids." And then I go and watch it and I'm like, "Oh, I forgot about that." And it's the cuss words. And I'm like, I don't really need my kids cussing and getting in trouble at school. Plus, I just don't like it in my house anyway. I personally feel like there's better ways in communicating yourself in a clear, articulate way. Then you just don't have to use the cuss words. So that's again my takeaway. But I was really wondering if I was the only one. And it turns out, no, I'm not. There are other parents that feel this way. So the last one is that educational value is a bonus, but not a priority. And I really thought in this day and age that maybe there'd be a bigger push towards, educational value in media. But quite honestly, most parents just want their kids to have appropriate media. If they learn something while they're at it, great. Basically, they're not going out of their way to look for that. I like educational material. I like stuff that is going to engage their brains. Oh, or teach social skills. If it teaches social skills, interpersonal relationship skills, communication skills, I think I look at that as a much broader educational value is a much broader category than maybe some other parents do just because of my specific background and educational experience. Those sorts of things are always a plus for me. But you know what? If you're not going to teach, proactive communication skills, at least don't have them beating up and bullying each other. That's what I can say. I want to point out another really quick, interesting fact that I ran into. When I set out on this journey to find out if other parents had the same concerns, questions, um, criteria in analyzing media for their kids as I did, I thought, okay, if it's completely anonymous, it's short, it shouldn't take them more than 2 minutes to fill out. Parents would be willing to answer this. No. It took me months to just get 20 responses. It wasn't until after the election, and I don't know why, but it wasn't until after the presidential election that all of a sudden I went from 20 responses to 100 responses almost overnight. And I'm not joking. In less than a week, I got 80 responses. That blew my mind. What changed? Was everyone just really busy before? Were they all being hounded by political pollsters and didn't want to deal with another survey? Were they concerned that maybe they were in the like people would look down on them for their opinions or ideas or attitudes towards media? I don't know. I honestly don't know what flipped overnight, but something did. Now, is that conclusive? Was it the election? Who knows? Was it something else? Maybe. I have no idea, but that's what happened. So, in conclusion, just going through this, parents really are being a lot more proactive and intentional about what they're allowing their kids to see and view and experience. And I'm really glad. That is a great, great outcome to see. Now, I only got 100 parents. I would love to get 1,000. I'd love to get 1,000,000 parents to respond. And I'm hoping to do this again and get more responses, get more information. And so this isn't the end of me delving into this because, it's me. I don't know. I'm just always looking for more information. It's me, it's just how I work it. I like knowing what other people think and I like understanding why. I feel the more that we communicate and seek to understand each other in this country, the better off we're going to be because we'll be able to come to an agreement or consensus on things that matter the most to us. Next is that people, like I said, just don't trust the rating system. So maybe we need something new. Maybe we need a rating system that is more accurate, that it better reflects what parents are looking for. So maybe the rating system needs to be addressed, needs to be improved, needs to be more accurately applied. But the biggest takeaway was sexual content. Parents just don't want it in their kids' content. And I completely understand that. 100%. I get why that was the number one concern. And basically, overall, they want media that aligns with their values. They want media that is developmentally appropriate for their children. And they want to have a say in what their kids are exposed to. And so instead of confiding in Hollywood or the government or the ratings or the reviewers, they are trusting in their own judgment and doing the work themselves. And that, I think, is very admirable. Overall, like I said before, I plan on delving in deeper. I'd like to look more into the expanded responses that I got from parents and find out nuanced why they feel the way they feel and what they meant by what they said. I'd like to go and get a wider sample. This was a great start. I think 100 really gives us an idea, but I would much rather have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 parents. So please, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you weren't part of the survey, I will be trying to expand this survey in the future. and get more feedback from parents. Keep your eyes out when you hear about it, when you see it. Please respond, because the more information we have, the better picture we're going to get. And maybe, just maybe, we can get things to change. Maybe if we can all speak up with one voice and they can hear that we genuinely care about this, we will start getting family-friendly content, kid-friendly content that matches what parents are actually looking for. That's basically where we're at with what I found. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've really enjoyed sharing this project with you. I'm hoping to get these findings published, and if so, I will put the link for where I do get them published at in the description to this podcast. As of date of recording, it is tentative. It sounds like I might be getting my findings published, which would be super exciting. And so I'm looking forward to that. And please make sure that you share, subscribe, click like, leave a review. The more we can get interaction going on these different content platforms, the easier it's going to be for other parents to find the resources and information, and military families, for people to find the information that is being presented. So I just want to help as many people as I can. I want to get these resources out to as many people as I can. And thank you. Thank you for everyone who does subscribe, who has liked, who's following, who's supporting, who's sharing this information. Thank you to all of the 100 parents who took time out of their day to fill out this response, to be part of the survey, to help me out and get this ball rolling. I hope to be able to do more projects like this to get information out to everyone regarding topics that they are genuinely concerned about. So, as always, let's do our best to be the good that we want to see in the world. I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you've been listening to Life of a Military Wife.